Okay. Well, and actually go live. So good morning. Welcome to a special council meeting with the Nampa City Council. Thank you for joining us this morning. I think I see that we've got about 20 people watching us live stream this morning. As it has been over the last couple of council meetings, we're on a different platform live streaming this morning. So we trust that everything goes smoothly, but anytime you're just strictly technology and we're all at distance and on our various computers joining the meeting, sometimes things take a little longer and they may not go perfectly smooth, but it is where we are. So
Dear Heavenly Father, beautiful morning going into this weekend, but a lot of hurt, a lot of anxiety. And Lord, it's easy to say we just put it in your hands, but it's tough to do that because we're such a human race that's so independent and want to do our own thing. But Lord, if there's any time at all where we need to be looking for your guidance, it's now. We're so thankful for a community that has been disciplined, even with questions being asked, and we're so thankful for leadership and our mayor and her team that have so diligently, faithfully cared for this community and using discernment and your guidance in this. Just help this to continue, Lord. Help us to be all respectful for each other's, even with differing views. And we are just blessed to live in this city of Nampa, Idaho. And we thank you for her citizens and all that they mean to this community and surrounding areas. Help this meeting, Lord, to go well and for us to make wise decisions. And we thank you again for each and every day. In thy precious name, amen.
Amen. Well, so let's see if my flag shows back there. I think it does. So let's do the pledge. We can all do it together. And I'm going to sit for the pledge just because otherwise I'm kind of in the way, but I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So let's begin with roll call.
Rodriguez. Bruner.
Here.
Mucci.
Here.
Levi.
Present.
Haverfield.
Here.
Bauer.
Here.
Thank you. So today we just really have one action item, and it isn't as much an action item as it is my commitment to you as council to communicate actions that I anticipate us taking or not taking, because we're not asking for a major action, but I just want to let you know, and I kind of what we're thinking regarding enforcement of the governor's plan. So the governor did release the plan for the 4 phases that he wants to implement in the coming weeks in relationship to the COVID virus. We received some interesting feedback, and I'll just read this letter, and then maybe I'll talk after I read the letter. So I sent the council a letter this morning that my chief of staff, Rick Hogeboll, myself, and Doug Waterman worked on. And before I read it, I guess I want to pause and say, Doug, do you have anything that you would like to share at all before I read the letter?
Not prior to. If there are questions afterwards, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, I appreciate that. So if you don't mind, it's a full page. I'm going to go ahead and read it to council, and then I'd be happy to answer any questions. So Governor Little released guidelines yesterday for moving forward as a state in the face of COVID challenges within our communities. I appreciate the governor and his team's dedication to maintaining public health through the provision of a 4-stage path for hardworking Idahoans to safely get back to work and provide for their families. In response to the governor's plan, we will be instating the following enforcement prioritizations as of May 1. There are many businesses in our community that are not included in the earlier stages of Idaho's guidelines for economic recovery. Many of Nampa's business owners have communicated an inability to access funds or loans either to protect their businesses or to provide for their most basic personal needs. They have bills to pay and families to support. But what our local entrepreneurs want more than government funding is to return to work, to produce goods and services for the citizens of Nampa, and to provide food and shelter for their own families. The desperation to provide for their families has created a dilemma where we feel that regardless of their classification under any applicable order, they are compelled to resume operation. As mayor, I want to listen to everyone in our community. And I've heard the spirit in which these hardworking, contributing members of our city have communicated their intent. In addition to the city having insufficient resources for strict enforcement, criminalization, and locking the doors of all these businesses, I've determined that prioritizing education will assure the best possible outcome for public health. Focusing our energy on requiring that businesses adhere to the best and strictest operational guidance from our local health district will produce the greatest benefit for all the overall well-being of community. From the beginning of the coronavirus challenge, our goal has been education. We're happy to report that the community has mostly complied and that no citizens have been issued, citations have been issued. So I'm reading that. And that additional resources have been and will continue to be directed toward further education and training. The city of Nampa does not have sufficient resources to support to continue enforcing general closure of all restaurants, hair salons, bars, and other businesses. While we will continue to provide education and informational resources for those businesses that choose to open sooner than recommended, we will not be issuing any criminal citations. Rather, businesses that choose to open but subsequently disregard the health guidelines provided for their ongoing operation will be the focus of our enforcement. We will continue to curate and push out educational resources and health guidelines provided by the Center for Disease Control and Southwest District Health to ensure that our businesses know how to provide safety for the safety of their patrons. We are committed to proper sanitation and public health. It's precisely in that spirit that we are prioritizing education to equip Nampa's businesses for their best compliance with health standards, rather than having businesses open in secret, not following established guidelines. We will continue working tirelessly through our emergency operations structure and with partnering agencies to support Idaho guidelines with all available resources. After consultation with Police Chief Huff and Emergency Manager and Fire Chief Carpenter, we feel confident that this plan of action is the wisest allocation and prioritization of our limited resources, that it assures the safest environment for members of our public safety departments, and that it empowers businesses, business owners, and patrons to observe the best protocols to mitigate against the spread of COVID-19. Our goal is to promote consumer confidence by ensuring customers can safely go into any business in Nampa and not risk exposure to the coronavirus. We want Nampa businesses to succeed while we protect the health of our community, achieving our community goal of creating a safe and healthy community where people prosper. So that document embodies the intent of enforcement underneath the guidelines. as mentioned, we've heard from a number of businesses throughout the community that actually are intending to open. And we want, what's most important is that we have a safe and healthy community where people prosper. That is the mission and the vision that we have. And we have a broader mission statement than that, but in that short form. We want to focus our energy on compliance and safety, because the battle, the war that we're in today with the coronavirus is a long-term, it's a long-term thing. It's not going to end in 2 weeks. It's not going to end in 4 weeks. As we've all heard, this will be around for some time. What we want is a spirit, a team spirit in our community of everybody coming together saying, we are going to get this done. We're going to protect our community. We're going to put good guidelines in place, and that we will win the battle that we're facing. And the enemy is not each other, it's the coronavirus, right? So we want to have a community that comes together, that isn't fighting each other, but that we are fighting the real enemy, which is the coronavirus. And I believe that we can do this and do it well. I do want to say I appreciate the efforts of Southwest District Health working with us. We've been putting together some videos with the standards as established by Southwest District Health, and our expectation is that all of our businesses follow those standards. So with that, I guess I would stand for any questions or ask if legal counsel has any comments or concerns, and we go from there.
Mayor, I guess I'll start this out. And I read the letter right before we went on, and thank you for the letter, a well-written letter, and I think a well-thought-out letter, and I think the businesses will appreciate you. I just have a couple questions, and I'm not expecting answers on necessarily the one that the governor laid down. But as far as putting out the videos and so on, those will be going out before May 1st. Is that our plan?
Yes, the goal was to have them out today. It probably will be the beginning of the week. We have a couple videos already captured with Southwest District Health, so they will be out to help people know how to open. So yes,
I realize it's not in the first phase of the governor, but it sounds like if a hair salon or a barber shop decides to open, we will allow that. I'm wanting the guidelines to be followed. And looking at my hair, like many, I'm well past. But what would be the specific guidelines in a video or whatever that we would suggest for a hair salon or a barbershop? How would we be advising them as far as to, follow the suggestions and restrictions?
I think first and foremost is the physical distancing that is taking place between chairs, right? So if your chairs are closer than 6 feet, they need to be distanced. You're going to have to skip a chair servicing your customer. Now, we all know that the person doing someone's hair is in closer proximity. They would need to be wearing a face covering.
Okay.
In order to be doing service and working close within proximity of someone, they would need to be wearing that. They would have to be following strict sanitation protocols, cleaning both equipment, chairs, everything. I mean, counters, everything has to be cleaned. And what's important about this is the sanitation protocols that are being put in place need to carry on for some time. I'm going to guess for at least a year, that we need to have very good sanitation protocols, because as they're saying, coronavirus may not be gone. It may be resurfacing in the fall again. What we want to do is be able to if we can adhere and change our practices with the sanitation protocols, then hopefully we never have to shut down again, even if there's a slight resurge. The terminology that I've heard actually from Jean, the hospital side, is we may see swells. We don't want to see a spike. Okay. And so we want to make sure. So yes, there will be very specific ones for
and as far as the client in the chair, probably not would not work to have a mask on, so that's not going to be required.
Mayor.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to Mayor and Council real quickly. The Councilman Bruner, the guidelines the mayor is talking about, of course, will be coming from Southwest District Health. So the specifics about them that's the source of our authority for guidance on those.
Okay. And we have not received those yet, Doug, at this point, totally, in detail?
I don't think we have the final version, but I think, like the mayor said, the hope is to have them today. I'll let her answer that.
Okay. Allow me just one more question then, because I won't on that. But in the governor, in the first stage, the very final one, it says daycares and organized youth activities and camps can reopen. Do we have kind of a definition of what that means? For instance, does that mean Babe Ruth baseball can start, or what does it mean by youth activities and camps? Or do we know that yet?
I couldn't speak to that.
Okay.
I just, other than taking it at face value, we'll have to clarify that,
Okay.
what that means.
I was asked yesterday by the director of the Regional Fellowship of Christian Athletes about holding camps, so that's why I was kind of trying to get to the bottom. But is there someone that, if I would like to find that answer sooner than later, is there someone you would suggest that I contact?
I tell you what, if you can give us till Monday of next week, since
Okay.
today's Friday, we will find that out, because we need to have the answer to that question for our rec center. And it's going to go across the board, right?
Yeah, all right.
Whether it be
Certainly
a
will.
church
Thank you.
camp, the rec center camp. So we'll get the answer to that and make sure that we have it by the next week. Thank you for those questions. Thank you, Doug, for the reminder. I can share what I have understood to be the case, but as Doug said, our guidelines, we will adhere to Southwest District Health and those guidelines, unless we put something stricter in place. And that is something that we could consider doing. But at this time, I don't have a specific. Yes, was that Sandy?
No, it's
It was
Randy.
Jean, sorry. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so it's
Go ahead.
Jean and Randy. So shall we, okay, Jean, go ahead, and then Randy, you're next.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Jean, you're
Doug
sideways.
I don't know why. So I'm on my phone too, because I can't. It's good. Good morning. Just for clarification purposes, this letter is not an endorsement of not following the governor's order. It is stating that our enforcement efforts to keep our public safety personnel safe and capable of carrying out enforcement will be around education and enforcement where non-safe and sanitary protocols are not being followed, but it is not an endorsement.
That is absolutely correct. And Jean, thank you for asking the question, because that's a very important question. And you're absolutely correct. This is not an endorsement to not follow. Thank you.
And Mayor, my
Randy?
question was, it's not really clear. The education enforcement policy statement that we're going to be putting out as a press release, I would assume, to the community, it's not clear as what the effective date is of our posturing. The governor's is starting May 1st. Is that your intent as well in this letter?
It is. It's right at the heading at the top. I don't know if that came across.
Well, I
But
just
we
want
can-
clarity. And the other
Yeah.
thing I would state is, like we have our vision and mission statements that are a little bit more of an executive statement instead of an expanded form here. People they might take the time to read all this, but something that's a little bit more straightforward, I think, is what people are looking for, possibly in a statement that says, okay, this is what we're going to do. It's an education and enforcement policy effective May 1st. And then, maybe go ahead and skip into a more of an expanded version. People will maybe still be confused as to what we're trying to say here. Does that make sense?
Okay. It does make sense, and I appreciate those comments, because that's important to hear. So I think what I'm hearing you say is we need to do something that's very succinct and short, that outlines, in case somebody isn't willing to read this entire page.
Right. The other thing,
Exactly.
like I mentioned yesterday, I think if our statement is unified as a council behind you in making this statement, I think that's important. And I think my position or my feelings are that every person in Nampa is essential. I don't believe there's anybody that's non-essential. I believe every business is essential. None are non-essential. So if we're looking at trying to equalize our statement so that it blankets everyone, going forward, so that we're not trying to separate a certain segment of our community that, you know, is still sitting out there wondering what they're going to do next week, you know, how they're going to pay their bills. If it's a unified statement, I think that's what's important. The governor's statement left me a little flat yesterday because it kind of broke it out over a period of 4 phases, with some businesses not opening until further phases. And that's hard on those people that, again, per my feelings, they're just as essential as everyone else.
Okay. Thank you, Randy. No, I appreciate that comment. So I think too, even though an administrative action does not require council approval, but what I do appreciate is hearing that the council supports it. So if we took a vote, it would be a vote of confidence as much as anything to say we support you in this action. So that might be something if the council says, because anyway, that's my thought. It would be no more than a vote of, yes, I support this letter going out. As there are times that it's awkward, and I can see Doug thinking, and I know, and we've had these discussions, that it is an administrative action. It does not require council approval. However, I respect our council. I respect the fact that we have made decisions together, that I am not standing alone, and I greatly appreciate that. And it also, if there's a council member that says, you know what, I don't really agree with that, that's okay, and it gives them the opportunity to say that. But anyway, so I would ask maybe that we do have if I know that I have the support of the council as we move forward. Doug?
No.
Do you want to comment?
No, that's an accurate description of this is an executive decision about enforcement prioritization that you've, as mayor, have the ability to make and have made and are making in coordination with our police chief and emergency manager. But certainly having the confidence and affirmation of council gives you the confidence to carry that out fully. So I think it's a fine thing to ask council to do.
Mayor Kling.
Mayor.
Okay, so I heard Victor, so let's go Victor, then Sandy. And Sandy, I apologize. Go ahead.
Excuse me, Sandy. Mayor, what you said in the letter this morning, I read it twice, and I think the most important is what you have suggested is the businesses. It's also not only the business, but the enforcement, the community strength, their priority, the compliance and safety, and also the support of our community. So I support you 100% in this. I don't know of any other way we could do this. And I believe with our direction that we'll go with it with open eyes and with caution, but I think it's going to put the community back together again. So thank you, and I appreciate what you and Doug and Rick have done. This is what I've been thinking about for the last couple of weeks since our last council hearing. I appreciate what has been done for our community so far, and our residents have been so good to us, and now that we're given a little leeway here, so I'm full support of this, so thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Sandy? Sandy, are you there? Sandy Levi?
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, thank you. I apologize. A few comments and then clarification. One, I just want to say thank you again to all of our emergency services. As I've been driving around the valley and seeing how they have prepared, they've enacted steps and plans to care for our community, it has been totally amazing to see what they have been able to pull together. And I'm very, very proud of them. Secondly, I'm very pleased with this letter because it is so much more reflective of our city's mission statement. And those of you that know that those foundational documents are very important to me, it pleases me greatly to see that we are allowing our community to prosper
and to enjoy life here in Nampa as we should be. And we're doing it within safety guidelines, and we're encouraging them to take responsibility and also to be wise in their decisions. I agree with Councilman Haverfield. I was going to make the point as well. I appreciate the clarity of the letter, the detail, and I believe a lot of people are going to need that. But I also believe, for the sake of those that just want to look at bullet points and they want very succinct, here's what it looks like, this is what we need to do, I don't have time to keep refreshing and reading through this, it would really help them. But I do have 2 points of clarification, if I might, please. As I listened to the governor speak yesterday, he emphasized the fact that the masks, and also Mr. Jepson, masks were advised and recommended, but they were not required. And this is something that I'm hoping that we will leave that into the hands of our businesses, and they can make the decision, and the consumer can make the decision whether they're going to frequent that business or not. Again, just encouraging that personal responsibility. And then the other thing I was just wanting to know for clarification is, if we need to educate those businesses and our law enforcement is going to go into the businesses to educate them, what are they specifically educating them about, and how are they educating them, as far as how does that tie in once again with that like bullet point, succinct letter that we're going to make available to our business owners and community? Thank you.
Sandy, thank you for your comments. They're appreciated. Regarding how they would educate them, Southwest District Health has been working on a series of documents that are specific to the business type. They have a general business document that is already out that gives the guidelines for opening a business. They are working on a document. We already have, I believe, the video for restaurants is already done. I haven't seen the restaurant document yet, but there is a specific document coming out from Southwest District Health on the guidelines for that business type. And we will be giving them, our enforcement officers, they will be familiar with the guidelines and also give them a printed copy of those guidelines. So if we have any concerns, they will be making sure that they all have it. We have scheduled a series of phone calls with the Nampa Chamber of Commerce, Beth Heinig Economic Development, with Marie Baker, small business entrepreneur. I'm trying to think, it's with the SBA, but it's a different division of it. That's our core group, and we've got a good mailing list. Because we do not have business licensing, we do not have a list of every business in our community, which has made it very difficult for us to communicate and to reach out. That said, we have a really good list, and we're going to use all of the resources that we have access to be emailing and communicating to all the businesses. Really, when our goal is that if we all can do our part, step up together in the adherence to the health policies, that's going to take us down the road the best for a long-term solution. So that's really where our focus is going to be, is the adherence to health policy and guidelines.
Mayor Kling.
Follow up?
Okay, so follow up with Sandy and then back to Victor.
Go ahead, Victor. I'm sorry, because
Go ahead,
question
Sandy.
just kind of spaced off. I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Sandy. Mayor, and that's one of the things that I wanted to make note of, is that I have been speaking with Mitch Monet, CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, and I know that they are just as rambling and ready to get back to work as anyone else is. So that is you mentioned that that you're having communication with them, and that's one of our biggest resources for our community. So is there anything that we as a council can do to help you to present this information to our community? Or should we, like I say, step up to the plate and do as we can?
Well, we can certainly, I'm sorry, say that again.
I said, is there anything that we as a council can do besides supporting you in this endeavor of opening our businesses, that we can go along with you and with the Chamber of Commerce. That I've been contacted Mitch Minetti, CEO, and of the Chamber of Commerce to see what the great resources they have. What that's the number one key for me. So I'm just throwing it out there what we can help with.
Thank you so much. We will provide you, and I think you've already received some of the documents, but as we get the final documents, we will send them out to the council. If council would like some hard copies to have with them, just in case you happen to step into a business, again, we need to make sure that we are adhering to the distancing and all of that. But if you wanted to have some hard copies, that if you were around a business and wanted to ensure that they did, or and then Mitch Minetti will be emailing all these documents. They will be through the Nampa Chamber working to get the information out, and then we will be working to get the information beyond the chamber members. Okay. So it's hard to say. We may, I would love to even for those take out an ad in the Press Tribune and just, or the Statesman, but mainly I want to connect with our Nampa community to encourage them to be on board. This is a season that we need to appeal to the goodness of our community to say, hey, how are we going to do this? Because you know what? We can win. As our community, I believe that we can come back strong, but the only way we can come back strong is if we protect our citizens against the coronavirus. We don't want another shutdown, so we all need to do our part. And then encourage well, first of all, if someone has a compromised immune system, they should not be out. And that's going to be the advice from the health district. And we need to continue to stay in and be very, very careful. But for those that are working at the city, just so you know, we are continuing at least probably through the end of May with our work from home, our distancing. That is all going to stay in place. I've reminding, don't get us all in close proximity, the employees, to one another. If they are, they need to be wearing masks. If we're at a counter, we need to be wearing a mask, but we actually have gotten some shields that we're putting in the public facing counters to protect the public from the staff. And the staff from the public that has a go-through for documents. So as a city, we're working diligently to do everything we can to maintain the health standards that we need to so that we can be a really good example and protect our public. And we're just going to ask that everyone else join us.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor?
Are there any other questions? Yes.
I want to thank you for you and the team for the letter, and I really like where your heart is, and love that we're not going to enforce it as well. I love our police officers. I'm friends with many of our police officers in Nampa and Caldwell and our first responders. I'm grateful that we have our police and our chief and how they. Just their whole attitude about this hard thing that we're going through, and I think they care about our small businesses because it's a lot of I think we need to try to follow what the right thing to do is, but at the same time, some of these bigger government regulations they're a little bit hypocritical. I think if Lowe's and Home Depot and Target can be open without killing people, why can't small businesses? So I'm happy that I'm really, really happy about this letter. I think the people need some hope, and I think this letter gives them some hope that, hey, we're not gonna arrest anyone for trying to open up, but be in social distancing and create a plan that we can open up sooner than later. And just want to thank you and your team for some great insight and encouragement and giving these small businesses some hope. And and just so glad we have our police department that they're not going to go looking to arrest people and to support our small businesses, but at the same time try to be a little safe and realistic and looking at the numbers and making sure we don't have a spike. So thank you, Mayor. I know you're spending a lot of time early, late, and I know you're you're doing everything you can for us. And anyway, I just appreciate this letter.
Mayor, if I may
Thank you.
then just follow up, the one area that I think that I've been getting questions about, and I think this letter probably does not totally cover, and there's no way a letter can cover everything, is our own city entities. And when I mean that, I mean the rec center, the park playgrounds, etc. With the businesses, this covers the business aspect. What is our approach or plan, or as far as for our own entities? Of course, the golf courses have opened with restrictions, but specifically with the park playgrounds and the rec center. What do we have kind of a forecasted date or plan for those entities?
We don't have our date yet. I don't have the answer yet from the health district regarding playgrounds and the lifespan of the coronavirus. However, with the recent announcement yesterday of kids camps and daycares opening,
Yeah.
I'm thinking that maybe, but I would like to suggest that regarding the answer both to our sports, our camps, the playgrounds, that we probably will be addressing that next Monday or Tuesday.
Okay.
We need to continue. Darren is doing the research with our other local communities. I'm working closely with the school district also, because their playgrounds are closed, and we want to be in, and theirs are actually probably closed through the duration of the school year, which is the end of May. But I want to work with Paula Keller to ensure that we're all on the same page in some of those decisions, and that we're listening to the guidelines of the health district. So hopefully by Tuesday we can make an announcement. It may not be on Monday, but we can make an announcement on those things to
Very
ensure
good.
we're making the right decisions.
Thank you.
Mayor Kling,
I appreciate. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
if I could just chime in for a second. I was at the Centennial Golf Course the other day, and I'll tell you, I am impressed. I was very happy to see the 6-foot distancing, that you can't go into the clubhouse and buy and purchase or any food or drinks. But the people themselves were 6 feet apart. They were distancing. They were one person per cart unless you're a family. And I'll tell you, I was really impressed. So I want to thank Darren and his group for both Ridgecrest and Centennial, because I tell you, there's a lot of people with a lot of smiles. And hey, this is a good thing that we did by opening those courses. So thank you, everybody.
Mayor Kling.
Mayor? Oh, sorry, Sandy.
No, it's Jean. Sorry.
So Sandy, then Jacob.
I have one thing I would be remiss in not saying. As we enter this new phase of, again, not endorsing that people not follow the governor's order, but knowing that our enforcement capability has to be around education, I would like to appeal to my NAMPA friends and neighbors that the safety of our healthcare workers and their families, please, please, please be considerate of that. They literally on the front lines of caring for those who have been infected by COVID. They're working hard, long shifts, and they are also being infected and impacted by this virus. So as people begin to get out into the community, please, please follow the guidance that the mayor has put forth with the sound science and facts from our health departments and our governor, and protect the lives of all of those who cannot protect their own while they're fighting for ours.
Jean, thank you for sharing that. And I'm sorry, because I was listening to voice and I thought it was Sandy's voice, not yours. So I apologize for that. Thank you for your comments. I will say yesterday, Travis Leach, I listened to Travis Leach talk, and as a follow-up to what Jean was saying, as he said, when you see the impact of a COVID patient in the hospital and then moving into ICU, and I noticed that the numbers on the COVID virus, actually probably the age group that has the largest number is under 30. I think I was just looking at that yesterday and I thought that is so interesting. But
Correct.
where
It's
people
19 to
go,
25. It's
yeah,
19 to
thank
25.
you. Thank you. So when you see and hear of people going from being okay to very, very serious very quickly, it does remind us of the seriousness of this virus. And that's what we've got to listen to our healthcare professionals. So Jean, I appreciate your comments, because I think what I hear you saying, and we should include that in our letter, we are not endorsing people not to comply. But what we are saying is that from an enforcement standpoint for the city of Nampa, our focus is going to be encouraging us following the guidelines, because ultimately the goal is that we protect our community from the coronavirus. So really that's what we need to do, and that's our highest priority. And so we have an initiative that we're going to use our law enforcement to help educate people, to help if a business chooses to open, we're not going to criminalize them, we're going to educate them, and we're going to help them make sure that everything's in line. And this is where it's responsibility. There is freedom. We all want freedom, but with freedom comes a responsibility. And in this case, we need to adhere, we need to be responsible and recognize the responsibility that we all have as citizens. And we will close a business down if they will not adhere to health guidelines. If they are in defiance and will not adhere, then that's where we're going to take action, because we all have a responsibility to adhere to the guidelines and protect. And then we would say too, and encourage people, if there's a business that absolutely isn't, you don't have to go into that business, right? For the businesses that are going to succeed, those are the ones that are going to be right on top of it. Their customers are going to know. There's going to be confidence that I can do business here because it's a safe business for me to be in, because of the protocols that they have in place. And so really this is where the power is in the individual person. And they're in the individual business and their ability to create an environment that's safe and clean, and they know that it's going to protect our public. So that all said, have I missed anything else? I think Jacob had another comment.
No, Mayor, I think you just kind of, you covered it. I was going to say if when we do kind of start to open up, I don't know if parks, maybe it's not this week, but in a few weeks, if we can, I was just curious to ask you if we had any plans to, wipe down parks, or have some of the city members, kind of do some, daily cleanings or something like that, so kids can go back to parks. And I realize that might not be this week, but in a few weeks, if, I don't know, I think parks are a big deal for the kids to get out and get some sunshine if they can't go to school. And so I was just thinking out loud if that was anything that you guys discussed in the future when those parks do open up and kids get, they can't, when they still can't go to school, it's good for them to get outside and healthy for them to get outside, but also stay safe by maybe wiping down the playgrounds and things like that.
We've got a lot of playgrounds in the city. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to ask Darren to put together his plan, and we will email that out to council next week. We could do a briefing at the beginning of the council meeting Monday night. The downside is that we start at 5 o'clock with public hearings, and there isn't anything factored in. So we will probably just email you updates. We'll email you the documents that are out. We'll email you the plan as we hear from the health district and we hear from Parks and Recs. We'll send you guys an email to keep you up to speed on kind of where everything is, if that works. So
yeah, thank you,
with that said, thank you. I think so that we don't take too much of your time today. I don't want to cut anyone off, but I also don't want to take too much of your time. I think I would like to ask for a vote of confidence and support of the direction that we're going. So I don't know that we could make a motion, or it could be just, I'd like to ask if there is a vote of confidence and support of the direction we're going, and taking into consideration the suggestions that have been made today by council. And that is to let's get some bullets and have it a little bit more succinct, and let's make sure that we clearly say we're not endorsing someone, but this is our prioritization for enforcement beginning May 1.
Mayor, Mayor Clinton,
yes.
Just for a point of clarification, this policy statement for education and enforcement, is it meant to follow the Idaho rebounds policy that the governor put out? Or is we saying that that we're going to allow all businesses as of May 1st with an understanding that there's an education policy and enforcement, if necessary, policy that would kick in? I guess I'm unclear as to how the two blend together if they're not meant to.
Really, they're not meant to. And the reason they're not meant to is that we are not encouraging as a city people to not obey the governor's guidelines. And we do not want to come across as not supporting the guidelines. That said, that because we have heard from a number of businesses that they feel like they need to open, they feel like it's their right to open. What we're saying is we are not going to criminalize their decisions because we want to support our businesses. We feel like our best plan of action is that we educate them and that we adhere to the health district guidelines. There are a number of businesses that may choose not to open, but if a business does, we feel like what's most important is that we get on board together and that we adhere to the health district guidelines. So that is where we're going to put our enforcement of our police department.
And that's where I guess I was thinking that if there was more of a simplified statement that the council could then use, to Victor's point, what are we to say if we're asked? That's why if we're unified as a council with a unified message, it'll be important so that it doesn't come across as being fractional as a body. And again, as you've mentioned, we really appreciate what you've done here. You didn't need us to vote on this, but I think it's important that you have our vote of confidence, and I'll make that motion.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion?
No, Darrell is a yes on that.
Victor's a yes, of course.
And we won't do roll call, so go ahead, and if someone wants to speak up and say yes, they're there, then we'll leave it at that.
Mayor Kling, I made the motion, so I'm in support of it.
Jacob's in support of it.
I'm in support as long as it's not an endorsement. Thank you.
Yes.
Clarification.
Uh-huh.
I appreciate the council being in support of it, but was it listed as an action item? Can we actually be making a motion?
It was listed as an action item. So it is listed as an action. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So I think that Sandy, are you a yes or are you abstain?
I will be in support of it, but one of my questions that didn't get answered was about the masks, because I know I've been asked about that specifically. Going back to what the governor stated yesterday, and Mr. Jackson, is that it was recommended and advised but not required.
Mm-hmm. And for me, we are going to follow the guidance of the health district, which would be Director Jepson and our local health districts. So with that, saying that masks are advised, not required. But in the case where you are in close proximity and it's a beauty salon and you're working directly with someone, I have to see what the Southwest District Health guidelines are on that. If you're working in close proximity to someone like that, I think you're supposed to be wearing a mask. But again, that goes back to the guidelines. The general public, in that discussion, they're saying masks are advised, but it is not a requirement. And so we will follow the guidelines of the health district at this time.
And I just want to make sure that that's where we were, because I know many of the service industries, your nail salons, et cetera, they have guidelines in restaurants of health standards that they do have to follow. And I see this as just a good refresher and reminder and then also that these additional things that they're just watching. So anyway, I've got to limit my discussion because it doesn't pertain to the emotion. So anyway, yes, I am in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't know if did we miss anyone? So that said, I would ask that council, if you have any concerns or questions, please reach out to our office, to Rick Hogelbaum, to myself. Chief Huff is always happy to answer any questions. So we will, we've listened to the guidance on this letter, and we will create some clarifying language in it. And then, and you know, I think we will, as part of any press release, go ahead and include our mission statement, vision statement, as Randy has brought forward. And then we will get back, we'll keep the council apprised on playgrounds and park restrooms and those items as we work with the health district to determine what their guidance and recommendations are, and work with the school district on playgrounds so that we're in alignment with the school district if possible. So that said, I think that concludes this meeting. We do have a marathon meeting on Monday night. So be prepared, eat before 5. We'll take a break for 30 minutes. I will be here in my office. Our planning and zoning team, Rodney, will be in council chambers. It's going to be an interesting process to manage 10 public hearings in a call-in fashion in staging everyone. We've given a lot of order, and so we will work diligently to have that come together. So, and I just got a text from Rick reminding me to ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting, which I probably would have forgotten. So is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make
Mayor.
that motion, Mayor.
Second.
Before we close, I have a question though.
Yes.
I've been asked, as far as the public hearing side of our meeting next Monday night, will there be actual opportunity for someone to come in and speak? Or is it a phone-in opportunity that they would have if they want to speak on behalf or whatever in support of a project?
So I know that
Mayor?
we have email. Yes. And thank you, Rick. I was going to defer to you. We have email, video, and telephone. And Rick, please thank you for weighing in. Was that, or was that, who was it that spoke for just a second there?
Mayor, that was me,
Is-
but my connection's bad. I was just gonna answer Randy's question. Sounds like you know what's happening.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so there won't
Rick,
be
if
any
someone
actual-
chooses to walk in the building,
Okay, so that's not the case. There won't be a room set aside for someone to come in and speak. It's by phone, email, or online, correct?
I'll let
That's
Rick
correct.
answer that.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. I'm sorry, I'll second Victor's motion to adjourn.
Yeah, just a quick question though for Monday. Mayor, it off and on, maybe it's just my connection, but you've been on delay quite a bit. Can that be kind of corrected, do you think, by Monday? Whatever, or is that just my end, do you think? Or I'll let Mark figure that out, I guess, later. But anyway,
It's
You
delayed for
know,
me too.
I will make sure that I am in wireless in my office, but I'm going to redo my stuff so that I'm plugged in differently.
okay.
And so hopefully that will help because I think it's our wireless system. So I will work on that. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Okay, so all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.